Hi, I'm Bruce Cole, and this is my walkthrough for CSC 214, a technical design document for AI-powered bank reconciliation. And I guess I will start by saying that I understand this is supposed to be a design document. As I dug into the design document process, what I found was that I get kind of hung up in the minutia. Well, is this actually how the system works? So I, went to my Azure instance that I personally have and just went ahead and built the bank reconciliation so that I could work through the issues of, what's actually going to work and how does it work and how do I pull it all together. And I think that was a great experience for me in terms of dealing with the practical realities of what works and what doesn't. I think you will see that I made some pretty significant changes from my proposal document. The outcome is the same, but the how I got there changed a bit, a good bit, and I think for the better. So hopefully that doesn't blow the rubric. And either way though, I think I got a lot from this experience that will be transferable and useful in other places. So kind of high level executive summary, what I'm doing is trying to automate the bank reconciliation process. And bank reconciliation is just basically a comparison of two columns of numbers, one from a bank statement, the other from the general ledger. The challenge is that the two numbers sometimes have different aggregation features, or the date timing changes, or people make mistakes when they're recording things, or um, just in theory a very simple process, but in practice more of a mess. So kind of here in the second paragraph, I touch on the high level solution, which uh, did wind up using some OpenAI, but I wound up as a primary tool using SQL. And that cleared just deterministically 87% of the transactions. So, no inference, nothing like that. Just here's a rule, follow the rule, and it's done. And it's got a much better confidence level with it. So it's the right solution. Um, so let's see. The people affected, if you can not spend your time doing a bank reconciliation, if you're a bookkeeper or controller, if you don't have to spend the time to clear the transactions that actually match up the 87%, then you have some free time. So this takes kind of what I would call busy work out of the process for bookkeepers and controllers that have other things to do. Um, like I already mentioned, the duplicate postings, timing differences, one-sided entries, and then missing items, like maybe a deposit hits the bank, but someone forgot to put it in the general ledger. How do you catch that? So why is AI appropriate? And I think this is more a process automation workflow with some AI than it is an AI workflow. So the extraction um, and matching is largely, um, I guess there's not inference going on there. It's more just kind of OCR and reading the tables, and then the ones that don't match up neatly, we do some inference to try to resolve, and at the end of it, end up with something that is not just reconciled and time saving, but also auditable. So let's take a look at our solution. Um, so we've got the bank statements and the general ledger and the CSV. Those are loaded into a blob storage in two different folders, and then um, they are pulled into the AI document intelligence which I was able to use pre-built for the PDFs because it's really pretty simple table kind of format in the PDF in the bank statements. And then the GL is a CSV, so there's not really anything to do there, right? So just the pre-built layout worked for the bank statements. And then those are fed into the SQL database. The SQL database takes a look at it, it's got 2 or 3 rules that it applies to try to match up transactions. And if it's able to match it up, then it's done. If it's not able to match it up, then it passes it over to the OpenAI, where we're running the GPT 4.1 mini. And that takes a look at, here's a sample of the unreconciled transactions from roughly the same time range. Do they match up with the transaction that hasn't matched yet? If it does, then it says maybe this is a match. It adds it to the pending list. So then we come back around to, in the SQL database has all the tables, but we still need a way to deliver that to the bookkeeper, right? So I opened up the Azure app service and used Streamlit to build a 5-tab presentation that lets the bookkeeper interact with the bank reconciliation. And then the final step here is the bookkeeper, right? Their review, the human in the loop part of it. So I'll take a minute here and just kind of walk through the Streamlit. It's got a cover page that shows by month, and I created 12 months of synthetic information, of synthetic bank statements and synthetic general ledger with built-in errors to make this worth doing. So you can see the bank deposit, withdrawals, the net, then the GL net, the difference, the bank cumulative over time, the GL cumulative over time, and then the difference. So this would be stuff that needs to be fixed, right? So this is the work that the bookkeeper actually needs to do, right? So we've got some summary information up here. So we can see we've got 35 that are pending review. Those would be the ones that OpenAI, the GPT-4 mini, said, hey, maybe these go together. Take a look at it for me. Then the the unreconciled on the bank side are the ones that even after the SQL and the OpenAI processes, it was like, yeah, it doesn't really go with anything. And then on the general ledger side, there were 24 items that didn't really match to anything on the bank side. So we have the unreconciled reports. So here are the 2. And then here are and I'm going to make this a little bit wider for a moment so you can see the whole thing. All right. So you can see the 2 that are unreconciled on the bank side and the 24 that are unreconciled on the general ledger side. Okay. And you can see that most of these are journal entries, which tells you something right off the bat. Okay, and then we've got a tab that shows us all the matched and gives us, not just the match, but it includes the notes, which are kind of hard to see here. Let's see if I can stretch that. Apparently not. I wonder if so it notes on the ones where it's doing a fuzzy match, it's adding notes as to why it thinks it's a match, right? So those are all the ones that matched. And then down here, if you thought, well, I think, this match ID 69, that one really shouldn't be matched. So let's see here. Reason, because, and then we break it. And let's see if that worked. Yep, now we have 25 that are unreconciled. And if we come back over here, it's, yep, it's not there anymore. Okay, so pending review, these are the ones that the OpenAI part of it. It wasn't a clean match on the SQL side. So here's the reasoning that explains why the OpenAI matched it. And then you can either approve or reject. If you approve, it documents that you approved, right? And there's you can approve all that have a confidence level of over 90% or, um, oops, I just approved them all. Oops. um, okay. Um, did I? Yep, I did. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to do that. Um, yep. So now they're none pending review. But what I would have shown you if I hadn't clicked that button unintentionally is that um, there were a lot of details that would help the bookkeeper figure out whether or not it was a valid match. Okay. And then the last page are the adjustments. So these would be the things that the it just couldn't figure out, right? It didn't see any real match, right? So, and then it groups them. Here's their one-sided entries. So these are missing the cash entry. So it proposes the journal entry to fix it. And you can download that to a spreadsheet, and you could basically build your journal entry that needs to be recorded to fix it from that spreadsheet. Couple missing deposits. So that would probably be deposit in transit, except this one from April's probably concerning, right? I mean, we're all the way through December. The deposit should have been there. And then missing withdrawals. Um, so you'd be able to research, okay, so this check, um, you know, left the bank account, but there's no GL record of it. So it's like we wrote a check without putting it in the general ledger. So what's the deal? We had some duplicate entries, and then we have outstanding items. So those would be checks that just haven't cleared yet or deposits that are in transit, right? Okay. Um, so we'll move off that little horse and pony show there for a minute. And then take a look at the data flow narrative. Just to pop into Azure for a moment, I created a Recon Capstone resource, and you can see I've got the app service that sits on top of the app service plan, and then I've got the SQL database that sits on top of the SQL server. There's my storage account, and then there's my document intelligence, and then my OpenAI. It's all the good stuff, right? Okay. Um, so I included screenshots of all the kind of configuration that, and here's where it is in there, as well as talking through the plan, right? Although I did the plan. So that's kind of what you're getting is here's what I would do, and then I did it. So I'm showing you that I did it, right? Here's the LLM check for the ambiguous cases. Can we match them up? And then um, the human review report is here at this website, and that's what we looked at a couple minutes ago. But here's the Linux plan, and then the web app plan, and then the screenshots from the website. Um, Components inventory, we've kind of talked through that a little bit. The data model, kind of the run through, the big insight here was I was able to knock out 87% of the transactions with SQL as opposed to needing to pass them over to the LLM. And I suspect that if I added a couple more pretty basic rules to SQL, I could probably get that percentage up even higher. This like the 3-day plus or minus fuzzy date. If I extended that to 5 or 7 days, give checks more time to clear, that would probably catch more of the transactions. that's why, when we were looking at um, the proposed matching, they were all over 90% confidence level. Almost all of them were things that just matched outside that 3-day range, right? Um, so let's see. Service justifications. I've already kind of talked through why I went with pre-built as opposed to custom, because the pre-built worked and it was easy. If I added more bank statements, different banks, I'd probably need to reconsider that. But bank statements are still a pretty standardized looking thing, so it may be that the pre-built still works. The SQL database, I'm going to leave this to talk about it a little more in depth later. And then I've talked about the OpenAI part of it, the GPT-4.1 Mini, um, and then the Linux and the Python to build out the website, right? So trade-offs. Um, so I moved from AI search to SQL database, and I think overall that was a significant gain in the sense that we're clearing out the easy ones. We don't have to ask the LLM to do any inference work. It doesn't have to use its judgment because there's a cut and dry rule that clears out most of it. Um, so we wind up with the deterministic step with SQL and then single LLM pass, right? Um, it's a little more work because it's an additional step in the process. It's not just drop it in with the LLM, figure it out, and here you go. But we're also getting probably much higher quality for that 87%. I'm, you know, um, really confident that they're going to be right. Whereas the 13% from the LLM, not so confident, right? And that's going to impact the bookkeeper because the bookkeeper is probably not going to spend a lot of time reviewing the 87%, but they are going to go through and think about, the 13%. Do they make sense, right? And then the pending review queue versus auto approval. I think I had talked in the proposal about just letting things flow through. And I kind of wound up with that pending review queue just to give the bookkeeper the opportunity to look at it and say, yeah, this is right, or no, it's not. So that the ability for the bookkeeper to look at the things that SQL matched and say, no, that's not right, and break it. Or conversely, to um, be able to go into the unmatched items that even SQL didn't pick and match them up, right? So if you're on the tab, let me go there real quick, just because I didn't show you. The tab where you have your unreconciled items, you could say, well, I can see that I don't know. Let's see if any of these go together. The 30183, right? So I can see that the 372 matches with number 81. They go together. Now, if you're really doing this, you'd want to put something more meaningful in there, right? So, so now it's taken that off the list. It's over on our cleared list now, right? So that was something that I didn't have built in originally. That's functionality that just, I originally was thinking, oh, we'll dump it to an Excel spreadsheet and do the rest of it there. But that's really not necessary, it turns out, because we can do the web interface and basically accomplish the same thing that you would do in Excel. Responsibility, AI considerations. I wasn't using real data. If I was using real data, I would want this to run on, an internal server, or an instance that was governed by the organization that was running it to make sure that all of their privacy requirements were met. Um, the reliability, we've talked about the pending review, and transparency and accountability. A lot of that unbreak and break, and then the tracking. How did this match, right? So you can see um, on the active matches, you can see how it was matched, right? So here, let me flip back over there. So what matched it? So we can see that, this is LLM suggested as the match amount, whereas this is an exact match. This was a fuzzy 3-day match, so SQL matched that one. But it lets you kind of go through and say, well, this one seems like a category that I want to take a look at, right? And then you can also look at the match confidence level. So see, we don't have anything below a 0.9 confidence match, right? Um, so okay, back to it. So implementation roadmap. Um, so I spent, since we started this assignment, I probably spent a good bit of time over the last month kind of iterating, and I generated the synthetic bank statements and the synthetic general ledger, and I ran it through Claude as hey, can you do this reconciliation and give me an Excel spreadsheet? And it could. So I figured that meant it was possible to do this project. And then as I started to move into it and really build it out, I realized that I was hanging on to old ways, and that this was really just a couple tables with a join and some matching rules, and then a web interface to let people work through the lists of things to do. Um, so once I actually figured out what I wanted to do and how I wanted it to run, um, the whole thing took about a day to build, from start to finish. So happy about that. Lots of references, all that good stuff, and then Appendix A, I included all the code. So that's why there's 10 to 12 pages of content, but there's 40 pages of documentation. Okay, so I'm well past my 10 minutes, but I'm gonna leave it there, and I guess you can hit the 2x on the playback if you